Hey everyone, welcome back to the Door 59 channel here. Here we take a look at new and old action figures and figure out which ones are worth owning today. And today we have a bit of a special episode. We're going to be doing a quick review of the Marvel Legends Gamerverse Juggernaut. And at the same time, we're going to be comparing it to the most recent Marvel Legends Juggernaut. Mine specifically is the 80th anniversary 2-pack that also included Colossus. We got an X-Men Toy Biz Juggernaut. Then more recently, we got the Build-A-Figure Juggernaut, which I'd probably say was around maybe 9 years ago. And then they came out with this 80th anniversary Juggernaut. I'll put a picture on the screen. They're essentially the same build. I preferred the 80th anniversary Juggernaut just by the look. It was a little bit more the comic style. The Build-A-Figure Juggernaut had darker colors and came with a belt, but generally the same figure. One of the other main differences is that one having a more textured helmet while this one is smooth. But I figure it's a good kind of comparison / review. The other main 1/12 Juggernaut out there is going to be your Marvel Select. But let's dive into this guy here. Let's open him up and see what we got. A quick look at the packaging. Here's the front, the side, back, other side. Gamerverse stamp. Okay, so one, he is a big boy. The reason I'm so late on this is because I was not that interested in upgrading from the 80th anniversary Juggernaut. I'm really happy with this figure. It's nothing too special in terms of articulation, but for a big character, you can't expect that much. I thought the Gamerverse was the same size, just with one of the biggest differences being the textured rib cage there, which I do think is a nice addition, but not enough to upgrade. Then I found out I was very much wrong. Starting off with height, right under 9 inches there. So taking a look at the head sculpt here, it's not smooth plastic, it is a little bit textured, not as much as the Marvel Select version or the Build-A-Figure, but it is pretty nicely textured there. It has some bolts on the side. Unfortunately, you do get this pretty big seam going across. For the head sculpt, it looks pretty good. The helmet sits really flush with his body, which is not something that the 80th anniversary accomplished. You can see here the head's more a little bit loose, which gives him the ability to look up and down a little bit. Maybe you could argue that. And then getting to articulation, so in terms of the head, yeah, you're not going to get movement up and down. It is definitely on a ball peg in there. Like you could see that a bit of a wiggle, but it's mainly going to be turning left and right. And so, yeah, he will turn all the way around there. My head just came off. So that's the inside there. Getting to the shoulders here. So we do get a butterfly joint, which is pretty exciting. Because for this guy, a giant action figure like this, you're going to have to sneak in articulation as much as you can. You can give companies like Marvel Legends a lot of flack, but with a lot of large plastic like this, this guy's a big bulky figure who doesn't do many dynamic poses. So we'll just see kind of how they got it here. So I do like so the butterfly are going to go back that far, which I think is a nice, pretty prominent pose. And then coming forward, they come to about there. Which I think, again, looks good. In terms of the shoulders coming out, he'll get his arm to there, not quite to 90. He does have a bicep swivel if it wants to turn. Bicep swivel is pretty decent. The elbow flex here, so that's going to be a single peg. That's definitely not a double jointed elbow, but that will not get quite to 90 either. So you could play with the bicep swivel probably to give him a little bit more room on that, I'm guessing. And yeah, so that gets him a little closer to 90, but he's not going to really accomplish that. And then you have a ball and hinge in the wrist here. The torso here, you can see kind of wobbles a little bit, almost like a bobblehead. So I guess there's a ball peg here in the torso. And in terms of that, pretty decent movement going left and right. In looking at the images of him on the website, they had him in a twisted position, and I was thinking to myself, mine springs back, but he does have that ability. You just have to keep kind of driving it, and you'll be able to get him to hold left or right. And you're hearing a snap there, but it's not really a click twist. It kind of still has this moving, but you can get them to move. This waist piece, this line here, I think it does not move. Interesting, yeah, that's not moving, and I'm pretty sure that's glued or sealed. That's not going to go anywhere. Okay, and so in terms of bending, he has a little bit in him, but it's kind of held by the spring, but not really. You can kind of see right here. You can see where his abs are, and then you kind of get one click, and you just display this little bit of extra ab up here. So essentially, no flexion in the ab crunch here in the torso. Getting to the legs, pretty much what you'd expect here. You get the upper thigh swivel, which works pretty well. That sits pretty flush. He gets into a decent kind of splitting pose there, surprisingly. And in the knee, you have, it looks like a single joint. Yeah, you're not going to need a double peg in the knee. It's just a single. So his leg will come back to about there. In terms of kicking forward, it's a bit inhibited with this quad muscle, but if you rotate it out, he might be able to get you to there. And then in terms of kicking back, not much of anything at all. In the boot here, and so the boot does not swivel here. This is all hard plastic. But then we get down to the ankle rocker, which works really well, about as much as you need that to. But without much articulation in the upper thigh, I don't know how much you'll be able to use it. But we do get a toe hinge, which is a really nice welcome. The other Marvel Legends does not have any toe articulation. And we get a bit of printing on the bottom of the boot here, which I know is important to some people. So I'll dive into the accessories, but we'll quickly just compare them to the other Juggernaut here. In terms of height, we had this guy at he's kind of just above 9 inches. And then this guy here is just around 8.5. But where you're going to get that size difference is also the width of them, side to side. And just compare them to a pretty standard Marvel Legends. I have Iceman here, and he proportions pretty well there. So we'll do some quick comparisons. Just like, for example, bringing the arms out, that Juggernaut gets there. He's going to have, I think, a little bit more. Yeah, you can get these arms in. So this Juggernaut will get the arms a little bit higher. This guy does come with some ab crunch. He bends down to there, then backwards, goes up to there, and then neutral. He also comes with the waist swivel here, which obviously doesn't look good when the plastic stops aligning, but I think it gets the job done. It's on these pretty big clicks. And then in terms of the leg articulation, you're going to get a lot more movement. He's also on a single peg, but at least he can almost get that leg to 90. Kicking forward, comes up pretty decent. And then kicking backwards, essentially nothing. And then he also comes with a pretty good ankle swivel. Is able to get the foot kicked a little bit back like that. Also comes with a boot print, but not as detailed as his boot print there. You could also just see this difference in the size of the feet. I didn't see how far his boot would kick back. Yeah, pretty good. A little bit more than the 80th anniversary. When it comes to accessories, so the accessories are pretty similar, where for each figure you're going to get 2 fist hands and then 2 open hands. You could just see the sheer difference in size in the hands itself. So in comparing here, here on the left we have the 80th anniversary and then the new Gamerverse hand, the grabbing hand. So they really went with the same exact idea, just on a larger scale. On the left you have the 80th and on the right the Gamerverse. And with the 80th anniversary, we do get a pretty cool head swap. So you get kind of a damaged head along with the damaged helmet piece, which I'll show you. So this is all one piece of plastic. But if you put on the damaged head, you get an unmasked Juggernaut, and then you put this helmet on top there, which looks pretty good. And I've used this for photos. Like that definitely has its use. It kind of just sits loosely up top there. But for the Gamerverse, we don't get any additional head sculpts. And so these pieces here are also loose rubber, similar to the 80th anniversary. But with the Gamerverse, we also get this last accessory of a punch effect, which looks pretty good from the outside, except when you kind of see this part here, it's pretty blatant. I see what they're going for this, because that's not kind of having a hard time going. When it gets there, it doesn't, does it go on the open hand? That would make sense anyway. Does it go on his head? Pretty hard to put in. Let me see if I can. Okay, so I figured that out. I tried just pulling this off, and so the leather on his hand does remove. So you just take this piece out, and then it goes on pretty easily. Did. And then you even get, yeah, a little bit of rotation with it. Look, it looks pretty good. I mean, it's fine. For a Juggernaut, you're not going to get too many other accessories, which is why I appreciated the battle damaged helmet with the 80th anniversary. So when posing this guy, I realized he also does have this pretty unique joint in the knee itself. The knee is a back, but it also has a swivel in there. So that's where you are able to get some kind of dynamic. So all in all, with the two of these guys, for me to make a final decision, I'll personally be removing accessories from the conversation. If you're in the market for a Juggernaut and you don't have one, I would recommend both, honestly, but I'd probably recommend the newer Gamerverse. But if you currently have a Juggernaut that you're pretty happy with in terms of upgrading, I'd say you're not missing a ton. I think the overall detail looks a little bit nicer. I like the color on the Gamerverse Juggernaut a little bit better. It's a little bit more of the browns versus the maroon and dark reds on the 80th. But it's a really close battle. If you have the shelf space, I'd say why not go for the bigger one? When it comes to big action figures like a Hulk, a Juggernaut, a Thanos, I usually will go for the one that's a little bit bigger. I guess it's kind of hard to come to a final decision on this, but in terms of is it worth an upgrade? It depends. If you're a Juggernaut fan, then you're going to know that answer yourself. And I'd say, yeah. Like if you're like me, you just like the Juggernaut. We get a Juggernaut figure every 5 years, every 7 years sometimes. And so I don't think we'll get another one like this. Maybe they'll do a repaint. But this is the perfect looking Juggernaut to me. I hope the comparison just helps you be able to make at least a decision on that. If you don't upgrade from the 80th, you're not missing that much. But if you are in the market for an upgrade, want something a little bit less glossy, a little bit more texture on the helmet, a little bit less wobbling on the helmet, something that sits flush like the Juggernaut does, something a little bit wider, taller, a little bit more muscular, less shiny plastic, with enough articulation that he can do what you're looking for in the Juggernaut, then yeah, go for it. But I hope this helps. If you guys are into action figure photography, check me out on Instagram at door.59, and I'll see you guys on the next one.